I don't think it's about having less personal comfort, right? It's about, isn't it more comfortable being in a space that you know was designed responsibly for the planet, right? To me, it's sort of a no-brainer. It's like, I do think though there's a case for ugly in architecture and design. And if you think about products that are grown, like mycelium products, right, or natural products, things that don't have it, that aren't as processed, things that aren't as sealed and other kinds of things, so it's sort of like, and I actually kind of want to write a white paper on this, but it's like, there needs to be a case for ugly in architecture and design, because it's like everything needs to be precious, right? You need, especially in the US, right? It's like, stone needs to look, the same one day, 8 years after they've moved in is the day that they moved in. Other surfaces need to look the same, but the reality is that things do patina and they age, and I think Europeans are a little bit more accepting of that, right? Just because of the nature of, we live in older cities and you see the patina of age, right? Which you've sort of come to embrace and love. But when you live in a really new place and everything's new and shiny or whatever, you sort of, come to expect that. But it's like, I think we need to sort of embrace ugly, right? So this project in Berlin, we're reusing a lot of their furniture. We're actually buying a lot of used furniture. We actually went out and found matching desks, which was kind of a fluke that they were actually available. But, we need to embrace new thinking, which means that not everything doesn't have to be new. Everything doesn't need to be perfect. Everything doesn't need to be whatever the moniker is in order for it to be great design, right? And I think we all have to collectively sort of embrace the fact that it's not going to be the same way that we designed in the past.
No, but what if this reused furniture is not very comfortable? But you can say to the client, yeah, but it's very sustainable. Then you let go a bit of.
Well, that process happened on this project where the client was like, "We're using this. We don't like that." So that absolutely happened. But we reused it absolutely as much as we possibly could.
Yeah.
So again, I think as designers, we all sort of want everything to be, our signature and our whatever. But the reality is that maybe we need to let go of some of that.